Hi, I'm Tom Luna. I'm a former school board member. I was privileged to serve as senior advisor to U.S. Secretary of Education Rod Page. I also had the honor of serving for 8 years as Idaho State Superintendent of Public Instruction. During that time, I also served as president of the Council of Chief State School Officers. One thing I have learned in all these experiences is that educating children is not rocket science, it's more complicated. On my podcast, Swimming Upstream, we will visit with courageous leaders who challenge the prevailing tide and inspire all of us to swim against the current. Let's jump in. Welcome to another episode of Swimming Upstream, and our guest today is Jamie Rosenberg, who's the CEO of ClassWallet. And we're going to learn a little bit about Jamie's passion in the work that he does. We're here at Jeb Fest, we call it, but that's traditionally we call it Jeb Fest, but it's actually known as the Excellence in Education Summit. And people from all over the country have gathered to identify great practices happening in other states that are having positive impacts on education. And we are having a chance to visit with some of those state leaders and some of those business leaders that are making that happen. And one of those is Jamie Rosenberg. So Jamie, thank you for being with us on Swimming Upstream.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So Jamie, you've been swimming upstream for quite a while.
Yes.
And I want people to know about your background and not necessarily, we'll get to this point, what you're currently doing, but what got you to this point. And it was a passion about teachers, empowering them, and supporting them in the classroom. So talk about that journey and your first efforts in that.
Yep, it's been quite a journey for sure. I think any entrepreneur would appreciate that. My journey toward this path with education, helping students, started in 1997. I was a lawyer practicing corporate law at a Miami law firm, and was mentoring a student in a school for pre-kindergarten aged physically and mentally delayed children. And fast forward during one of my mentoring experiences, really just had a life-changing experience in that classroom, and just decided I want to dedicate my life to helping children, and realizing the best way I could do that is really helping those that are closest to those children. So I left the law firm and I started my first company, which was a nonprofit called adoptaclassroom.org, which was a crowdfunding platform for teachers. And I ended up raising about $25 million for teachers in 30% of U.S. public schools, and growing Adopt a Classroom to be one of the largest education philanthropies in America.
So raise funding that would go directly into the classroom, give teachers the funds they need for those classroom supplies and those kinds of materials to improve education in their classroom.
Exactly right. I always felt that that teacher who's in front of those students 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 8 months a year, they're really the ones making profound differences. And at the time, there was no direct way to give money directly to a teacher. I mean, I was a young man, I had no family or students, so I wasn't involved in PTA. And so Adopt a Classroom was really born out of solving that problem. And how does someone in a community easily, quickly, and accountably give a donation to a teacher? Specifically, not to a school, not to a nonprofit, and Adopt a Classroom really solved that problem. Made it very, very simple to make a donation directly to a teacher, and I developed technology so that I could track how the teacher was spending it, so that the donors got real-time accountability of the impact they were making. And I was able to grow that charity nationwide and never had to staff more than 2 people.
Wow.
So really was a testament to leveraging technology and innovation as a way of scaling impact for education and for kids.
So the next version of that, or the next effort on your part?
So what I came to realize after running that organization for about 12 years was I was not the only entity in America trying to direct money into the classrooms. So I left that charity and basically built a platform, in essence, taking the bespoke technology I had built for Adopt a Classroom and selling it as an enterprise software to school districts who themselves were trying to navigate and manage funds down at the building level. And so ClassWallet was born in 2014 as a digital wallet solution that we sold to school systems to help them more efficiently direct funding down to key stakeholders like the teachers in a much more efficient way that provided more agency to the teachers to buy what they needed when they needed it without our clients having to sacrifice any compliance or control, which is
or
very
accountability or
accountability,
transparency.
exactly.
So just so people can understand the difference, you had many schools and districts that were providing teachers with funds of some way, but it was a clumsy like P card or credit card, or they had to turn in their own receipts. And quite frankly, it was such a hassle that many teachers didn't take full advantage of those opportunities.
100%. Basically, existing processes are very paper intensive. One large district we processed 9,000 reimbursements in the first 8 weeks that otherwise would have been managed by 340 school administrators chasing down 15,000 teachers to collect 50,000 receipts. Move them to the front office, move them up to central office, move it over to payroll. Maybe that teacher would get reimbursed 10 to 12 weeks later. With ClassWallet, they literally make a purchase and can take a picture of the receipt with their phone and they're reimbursed in 24 hours. And the client, the business office, gets full tracking of all of that, digital receipts of everything, automatically reconciled, and audit-ready reporting for their annual audit.
So not only does it remove a real headache, but it's got to save a lot of labor and the expense of just the hours that has to be put in doing it the old-fashioned way. And I think we worked with a state that actually did a bit of a study on how many hours and dollars they saved because they removed the administrative lift at the district and school level and let technology do that.
Exactly. In Utah, we were getting such market share there that the State Department of Education recognized the amount of efficiency we were delivering to the school systems. So they actually contracted directly with ClassWallet to pay for our solution for every school in the state. And in doing so, in their award letter, estimated that ClassWallet was going to save 22,660 hours of bookkeeping time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, figure that into the number of teaching hours that are now available or the kind of resources it frees up so that, they can focus on the things they do well, which is educating kids, not necessarily chasing down receipts.
100%. It's not atypical for a school, certainly a business officer, to say that they spend 95% of their time on the smallest 5% of their budget. And existing solutions just don't adequately solve the problems that ClassWallet solves. Distributed network of users making frequent purchases. You need accountability, control, and oversight of how they're being done, yet you want to give them flexibility. You just can't do that with a P card. You can't do that with a centralized ERP system either. And our digital wallet just fills that gap.
So every teacher has a digital wallet, like an app on their phone?
Correct. Right now, 10% of teachers in America have a ClassWallet account.
Yeah. Okay, so it's expanded from there now, right? It's not limited to just managing the funds that states and districts make available to teachers, but you've expanded into other areas where states or districts are providing funds like for school maintenance or other things.
Exactly. Holistically, the solution is it's a digital wallet as an AP automation expense management tool. It really is industry defining. We're the first to market with something like this. You're just not really seeing platforms like a Venmo or Zelle being used as an enterprise level expense management AP automation tool. So as a result, we've been pulled into several markets who have that problem. So, in a conference like this, where state wants to distribute money to families.
And we have more and more states doing that, where money is going from the state directly to families for families to spend that on the education needs of their children. And there has to be a high level of accountability, or a program like that is going to lose favor very quick.
And exactly is literally, how do you do that? And so what we have had a view on as we've grown is where we have a mantra that we help leaders deliver on the promise of education. And where a lot of policies really stagnate or frankly die is where policy intersects with rubber hits the road implementation and compliance. So if you have a policy, if you want to give $7,000 to families to pay for educational needs, and yet you need to monitor and control how they do that, I mean, literally, how do you literally do that?
Yeah.
Our digital wallet solution has been able to really unlock that gridlock and allow the money to flow to the intended stakeholder in a much more expedient and efficient manner, and allow them to have the impact with those dollars that they were intended to have. So last year, we literally managed $1 billion of funding to teachers, to parents, the schools, now contracted with school districts in 19 states. We now manage 40 state agency programs in 20 states, and we manage pretty much 80% of the ESA market in America.
And you're agnostic to the programs and stuff. You just have the platform that makes all of this work. And so really there's no limit to the way this could be applied.
Absolutely. We're actually in deep conversations with government contractors that support FEMA and HUD, where waste and fraud are rampant. And they view our digital wallet solution as the antidote to a lot of the problems they're trying to solve. We actually just closed our first account in a state where they're using ClassWallet for early child care subsidies and grants to early child daycare centers. So the digital wallet solution that we offer is totally agnostic. The problem is the same. There's an agency. They have a distributed network of users. They want to provide agency to those users so that these dollars can have an immediate impact, but they need to maintain some level of accountability and control. And simply put, a P card can't do that.
Right.
And right now, if you can't use a P card, the only choice you have is your centralized ERP. And trying to centralize decentralized purchases is very, very it's just a lot of paperwork and data entry and labor. So,
Jamie, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be interested and want to figure out how they can learn a bit more. Where would they go to learn?
Sure. I mean, go to ClassWallet.com. There's plenty of information there. There's plenty of opportunity to contact us. And we're really excited about what's happening, and we're really passionate about making a difference. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the impact follows the dollars, right? And if we can get those dollars as close to that child as possible, then we are making a big difference. And we recognize that there are a lot of needs in that journey. The administrators need to maintain that control. That's important. And the teachers and the parents want the flexibility to meet the very specific needs of those children. And we have successfully been able to address both those needs in a very balanced way, and as a result have allowed those funds to flow and really have the impact they're intended to have. With that high level of transparency and accountability, which is part of that implementation you talk about that has derailed many good ideas, right? 100%. And so, yeah. So well done. It's been great visiting with you. Jamie Rosenberg is one of those that has been swimming upstream for decades. Yep, since 98. Since 98. And I think we know a little bit more now why you swim against the current and work to improve education for teachers and therefore students and parents. Thank you for your leadership. All right. And thanks, folks, for visiting us with us one more time on our podcast, Swimming Upstream, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for listening. And remember, our children may only be 22% of our population, but they represent 100% of our future. If you found this conversation valuable, subscribe to our YouTube channel and find us on your favorite podcast platform. Swimming Upstream is part of the Strategos Podcast Network. To view the entire lineup of our shows, visit our website, strategosgroup.com.